tonight trying to balance the books as the city deals with $1 billion plus budget shortfall.
But we're stepping up to say we have to start somewhere.
Increased taxes, new taxes, and higher fees. We look at some of the things the city is considering to try and get out of the red. Plus,
I just couldn't believe somebody would just do that.
sighs of relief, silver linings, and reuniting with furry friends. How strangers are helping out one another as residents flee the wildfires in Yellowknife and land in Toronto.
We have Viggo Mortensen coming to town, Ethan Hawke, Anna Kendrick, Michael Keaton, so many big stars.
The promise of star power in Toronto as the city prepares for this year's Toronto International Film Festival. But how much could the strike in Hollywood affect the festival's attendance? Good evening. The City of Toronto is in what some are calling an unprecedented financial crisis. It's facing a budget shortfall that is well over $1 billion. We've been hearing for months about just how bad it is, and now officials are laying out some of the steps being considered as they try to fix the problem. Ali Chiasson has more.
Two numbers which are our immediate area of focus. One confronts us in less than 6 months, and that is our 2024 budget. We currently look at a $1.5 billion pressure. The second piece is our capital needs over the next 10 years, nearly $30 billion, of which over half is related to our transit services. These are critical areas that we need new deals, we need new ways of working with the provincial and federal government.
Negotiating a new deal will come with some real talk. City Council will have to warn the other levels of government that without a new funding model, they'll have to drop out of important commitments, halting work on improving long-term care, bowing out of transit projects.
We're asking them to step up, work with us.
The city is not just asking to be bailed out. For its part, they're willing to increase the sales tax on luxury homes, increase the tax on vacant homes, look for city-owned surplus land to sell, increase street parking fees, create a commercial parking levy, and create a municipal sales tax. That's the big one. It could generate between $800 million to $1 billion annually.
But coming from the people who can afford it. Because if you don't spend any money, you don't pay that tax. If you spend a lot of money, you pay more of that tax. That's why it's the most fair way.
But they would need the province to amend the Toronto Act to make it happen. And when they've asked for it before,
their response had been to audit our books, and that audit is ongoing to show how the city expenses are sound, which we are very confident in.
As for the new mayor's approach,
The conversation is ongoing, and I believe I will be meeting with the Premier soon.
For councillors, a new city tax will be a tough sell to their residents.
Yes, if you're a lower income person, yes, you're going to have to spend sales tax. The sales tax can be developed with exemptions. But we're stepping up to say we have to start somewhere to have a tool that solves a lot of the city's fiscal challenge. We're at a place where if we don't fill this gap soon, you're going to see libraries closing at 5 o'clock in the afternoon because we're just going to start shrinking our resources as opposed to looking at ways to grow them. This allows us to balance that out.
These aren't changes that we would see happen overnight. Something like a municipal sales tax could take years just to come up with the framework of collecting the money, let alone have another level of government signing off on it. But at any rate, all this goes to Executive Committee next week. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
A man has died after falling multiple stories at a wastewater treatment plant in the city's East End. Toronto police say the man was working at the plant this morning when he fell approximately 30 meters from a platform. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The Ministry of Labour is investigating. An update now to a story we brought you yesterday about a hit and run that turned into a homicide investigation. Toronto police now say the victim, 54-year-old Douglas James McDonald, was attacked by another man, then chased onto a downtown street where the attack continued. Police say McDonald was then left in the middle of Sherbourne Street.
Following the attack, Mr. McDonald appeared incapacitated as he lay on the roadway without moving. Seconds later, a northbound vehicle struck him as it passed.
Police in McDonald died at the scene. The suspect fled the area on a bicycle. Police describe him as black with mid-length black hair in dreadlocks or twists with an average build. He was last seen wearing a black short-sleeve shirt, a green hoodie with a camouflage pattern on the hood, black jeans with tears on the front, and black shoes. Police are still trying to find the driver of the car that hit McDonald. Investigators say that person is only considered a witness at this time. To Brampton now, where a man was arrested and charged after a multi-vehicle crash that left a woman and 2 children critically injured. Police say 40-year-old Gurpreet Hihar was driving a stolen pickup truck earlier this month and caused a chain reaction collision that injured 6 people in total. It happened near Airport Road and Clark Boulevard. He's been charged with 18 offenses, including dangerous operation causing bodily harm and failure to remain. Police say Hihar has a province-wide driving ban for multiple previous offenses, including impaired and dangerous driving. And the Ontario Motor Vehicle Industry Council says the sales of stolen or unlicensed cars in Toronto is skyrocketing. And now the province's vehicle sales regulator needs help to try and change that. It wants to make it easier for people to report illegal vehicle sales. Greg Ross explains.
The Ontario Motor Vehicle Industry Council is getting help from Toronto Police and Crime Stoppers after a sharp spike in vehicle fraud.
In 2022, our investigation team laid a total of 2,115 charges, more than double the total of 2021, including more than 1,000 charges against alleged curbsiders.
Curbsiders are people posing as private sellers trying to sell a personal vehicle when in reality they are buying and selling used cars without a license or registration. In many cases, the cars are stolen.
Curbsiding is an issue that is on the rise. Inventories, the soaring costs of cars, and continued supply chain disruptions.
OMVIC estimates that at least 30% of vehicles listed online as for sale by owner are placed by curbsiders. The organization has received complaints about odometer rollbacks, poor vehicle condition, and other significant non-disclosure issues, but there is often very little they can do to help.
As you may know, private sales of motor vehicles are not covered by the Motor Vehicle Dealers Act. So there is nothing that OMVIC can do to help consumers who are defrauded by curbsiders.
Sean Sporton with Crime Stoppers says there are many ways that this partnership can make a difference.
Raise awareness in the community about illegal vehicle sales and activity in Toronto and across the province of Ontario. Let the offenders know the industry is taking notice. And lastly, provide the community with an anonymous crime reporting platform.
People buying a used vehicle should take precautions.
Another thing we really strongly encourage people to do is to get a UVIP, a used vehicle information package, to give you that knowledge about where that vehicle's been, what kind of information, everything that you can get before you actually put down the money and buy that vehicle.
It's also recommended that people buying used cars go through a dealer registered with the Ontario Motor Vehicle Industry Council. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, popping outside for a live look at the city right now. We're seeing some thunder showers in parts of Toronto after a pretty humid day. Colette Kennedy joining us now. Colette, I thought it was going to be quite hot today, but that cloud cover and wind kind of kept things cooler, especially earlier.
Thanks, Angelina. Yeah, it was almost a nice day. I mean, a good chunk of it, right? We just had those clouds that built in, and the winds were pretty blustery ahead of the front. And then, of course, what's happening this evening and tonight is it's been going through. But the daytime highs prior to that, 26 for Toronto and Hamilton and St. Catharines, the nation's capital, up to 27. And then some cooler readings, that front and its impact with the rain and thunderstorms came in after the lunch hour. So it was into the afternoon, but that made the temperatures just a little bit cooler there in southwestern Ontario, and all around some really blustery winds. Had some wind gusts over 55 kilometers an hour back towards Windsor. And as we're looking ahead, we're going to see those winds change to the west, but still on the stronger side. So some wind gusting from 30, 40, 50 kilometers an hour. And behind that front, that is going to give it a cooler feel to the day on Friday. Still have to contend with some of the rain and getting that out of here as well. And then as we look at the wraparound tomorrow, that may bring a few isolated showers back back through the GTA and into cottage country. Likely drier, though, into southwestern Ontario with just some afternoon cloud coming in. So for tonight, 16 degrees, and there's that cooler day for tomorrow with a high of just 20 degrees. Angelina, about 5 degrees below seasonal. Warm up coming for the weekend, though.
All right, looking forward to that. Thanks, Colette. To the Northwest Territories now, where fires continue to threaten Yellowknife. The entire city, which includes more than 20,000 people, has now been ordered to leave.
The city is not in immediate danger, and there is a safe window for residents to leave the city by road and by air. We are asking all those residents to be evacuated by Friday at noon.
The evacuation is happening in stages. People living in parts of the city with the highest fire risk are leaving first. This is some of the video being shared on social media. It shows Yellowknife's airport as residents prepare to fly out. Flights began departing around noon today. Others are traveling by convoy along the only highway that's still open, making their way to Alberta. Officials are making it very clear, nobody should try to stay. And some relief for Yellowknife residents here in Toronto tonight after a pre-scheduled flight to Pearson brought people there away from the fires. And emerging from that, a heartwarming tale about a man saving a cat and bringing it to the owner's family here in Ontario. Adam Khan has that.
A flight from Whitehorse to Toronto landed in Pearson Airport this evening, carrying a handful of Yellowknife residents whose pre-booked flight happened to get them out of the city and away from the raging wildfires. Oliver Hodgins was among the lucky ones to be on the flight, so he wanted to extend a helping hand. When he learned a Yellowknife woman couldn't get home to save her cat, he went out of his way to help and brought the cat with him to Toronto.
It's an easy thing to do. The cat was super sweet. It didn't do anything on the plane the whole time, just slept at my feet. This morning they called Air North, who said there were too many pets in the plane, but I went up to the counter and pleaded with the guy, and he agreed to let me take the cat on the plane.
The mother of the cat owner drove 3 hours from North Bay to the airport to pick up the cat. The act of kindness bringing the two strangers together. Helen Weaver says things can be replaced, but lives cannot.
I just couldn't believe somebody would just do that. Say, yeah, I'll just take that cat for you. Yeah, I didn't even know what he looked like. I knew what the carrier looked like, but I didn't know what Oliver looked like.
Another sigh of relief, Ashley Jones, who was also on the flight, reuniting with his dad, but not without some stressful moments first.
It was pretty scary. It was hot and it was smoky.
But Desmond Jones worries about others who are still left in Yellowknife.
Having family members there and everything, it's really worrisome, and seeing it moving the way it is.
Despite the raging wildfires, Yellowknife residents who are now here remain optimistic about the future.
I have a good amount of faith that the city's going to be okay. They just need to make sure that everyone's safe.
Officials in the city are ordering all 20,000 residents to evacuate the city as soon as possible. Adam Khan, CBC News.
Welcome back. A nearly 3-week-old strike by thousands of Metro grocery store employees doesn't appear to be any closer to ending.
Right now, we're picketing at 27 Metro stores covered under the collective agreement for Unifor. And today we're taking the show on the road, basically, to other Metro stores to educate the public of our struggle.
Metro says it made a request to the union last weekend to return to the bargaining table. It says the union refused. Metro then asked for a ministry-appointed conciliator to step in and help end the strike, but the union is rejecting that request as well. The union says the company first needs to improve its wage offer. An organization that provides transitional housing and support services to young people says it's overwhelmed with the number of people who need their help. Rest Centers focuses its services on racialized youth at risk of homelessness. Its executive director says it needs to help to continue offering that support. Talia Ricci has the story.
When Veronica and Sandra Duira lost their mom, they struggled to afford rent on their own. Their landlord evicted them. Veronica was just 15 years old.
We're so young, paying our own bills. It was pretty hard because we never really had the help to begin with. We have to kind of do things on our own. And obviously we're all young, so we don't really know where to start or where to go.
Veronica and Sandra Duira lost their mom. They struggled to afford rent on their own. Their landlord evicted them. Veronica was just 15 years old. It was pretty hard because we never really had the help to begin with. We have to kind of do things on our own. And obviously we're all young, so we don't really know where to start The sisters were connected with rest centers in Brampton. The charity connects youth with the landlords in the community and also offers wraparound supports and subsidies.
There's people here that you can like talk to about like what you're going through or like how you're feeling. We've been getting like financial support, housing support, just other resources that we need.
If I didn't get that teacher involved, we would have been homeless, we would have been in shelter, and we wouldn't even have help.
The organization's executive director says this year, the number of youth accessing their services has already almost tripled.
Every day, hundreds of BIPOC youth across our cities are experiencing homelessness and are at great risk of homelessness for circumstances that are not their fault.
Dagma Koyi says the high cost of living, the housing crisis, and a lack of supports for at-risk youth is bringing more people to their center than ever before.
There are a lot of streams towards homelessness, so I'd say it's a perfect storm.
She's calling for more help from all levels of government. The region of Peel says it owns or funds a number of services for homeless youth and will be opening an additional 17 youth transitional beds in Brampton this fall. It also said the demand for shelter is outpacing its capacity, partially due to an increase in the number of refugees. Koyi is worried about the system being even more strained in the winter months.
We want people to know that this is a critical problem. We cannot afford to let our young people fall between the cracks.
Including these sisters, who both have dreams of teaching in the future.
Just to live life and like be successful at the end of the day.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Brampton.
All right, let's check back with Colette now. Colette, so much of the country dealing with wildfires this summer.
Yeah, Angelina, obviously just such a devastating year across the country in terms of our forest fire situation here in 2023. We know the situation in Yellowknife. They're also looking at the potential for some new fires building up into BC along a dry front that's coming through. But I want to show you something that also struck me as so dramatic. These are the fires that were burning in the nation on June 1st. And then I'm going to show you in a moment, I'll step out of the way, what's active as of today. And keeping in mind, when you see those in red, those are fires out of control. So from June 1st, I just find that so dramatic. It almost, yeah, makes me a little verklempt, because here it is, just especially in the west, but of course northern Ontario into Quebec, forest fire situation there, some out of control as well. We are at 600% of normal across the nation. Now, I mentioned that dry front, that as that sinks through BC, that could bring some lightning strikes, which could start more fires. But what I'm at least encouraged to see, the drought levels are so severe here into Alberta, some rainfall there, and Yellowknife on the north shore there of Great Slave Lake. Yes, maybe by Friday, late Friday night into the overnight hours and Saturday, the potential for getting another round of some wet weather coming through there, which would be very helpful. Back closer to home, we're dealing with a cold front going through and bringing us the rain showers and some of the thunderstorm activity. So that keeps going here through the overnight and then dries up. But on the backside, we do have still some cloud cover and a few isolated showers. And plus, we're contending with the winds. So the strong winds from the south to southwest ahead of the front, and then behind it, it'll be a stronger westerly flow. So I would still be prepared, even if it's dry by tomorrow morning, that into the afternoon some scattered showers develop. That's more so from about, Hamilton, maybe even Kitchener kind of westward, but back towards southwestern Ontario, you'll likely just get some cloud cover coming back and you'll be on the drier side. So you have that to look forward to, and the weekend where the forecast changes quite a bit. Overnight temperatures tonight, 13, okay, maybe 14 for Windsor, and a range of around 15 to 17 all around the Golden Horseshoe. There it is, Friday, a high of just 20 degrees. Normal this time of year is about 25, but Saturday the sun returns, near normal temperatures, 26, and Sunday increasing cloudiness, but I've put the humidex value on there because, Angelina, we're going to feel it. It's going to be a lot stickier for that second half of the weekend.
All right, thanks, Rob. Welcome back. Finally tonight, the countdown is on to the start of the Toronto International Film Festival, but there are concerns a strike south of the border by Hollywood actors could affect this year's festival. Still, organizers are promising plenty of star power. Tyler Cheese has a look at what to expect.
TIFF is known to attract some of Hollywood's biggest stars, but this year don't expect quite the same level of glitz and glam on the red carpet.
We are affected in that the films from the struck companies, the big studios and streamers in Hollywood, those actors are not able to attend during a strike if that continues during the festival.
And with only 20 days until the festival opens, it seems unlikely that the ongoing Hollywood actors strike will come to an end in time. Still, some big-name actors are expected to attend, this time in the director's chair.
So we have Viggo Mortensen coming to town, Ethan Hawke, Anna Kendrick, Michael Keaton, so many big stars.
Some experts say less Hollywood glam could actually enhance the TIFF-going experience.
We may, interestingly, have more time to focus on filmmaking and the craft of film, the art of cinema, than on the glitzy, glamour, what are you wearing, who are you wearing tonight aspect, which is also part of show business. But, maybe it'll give us a bit more focus on the art.
And those involved say there will still be hundreds of Canadian and international films to see.
The great news is that Canadian films and filmmakers always have a prominent place at our festival, but I think this year they'll be even more prominent.
First of all, the European films, the international films, the Canadian films, they will have casts and crews and directors. And those screenings, I think, will be very exciting and a fantastic opportunity to engage with those filmmakers and those film artists without being crowded out by the very, very bright light of Hollywood.
He says this year is a great year to go out and find something new.
Perhaps this year, some of the people that might have held out to see Steven Spielberg's new film might find themselves looking for films that they wouldn't ordinarily pick. And I think that's a really great opportunity.
The 10-day festival begins on September 7th with tickets for the public going on sale on August 28th. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Farah Morelli has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I'll see you back here at 11. Have a great night.